What is up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing here a deck profile for my Samurott deck. This is a very interesting deck because this particular card came from the actual theme deck for the Dreadnought deck, and this is something that I think is quite overshadowed because of the fact that Dreadnought exists, and although Dreadnought isn't as good as Samurott, it is definitely quite the popular Pokemon out there. So because of that, a lot of decks would be building Dreadnought. At the same time, you also have Cramorant, which is also a really cool card as well, that a lot of people would want to prefer to build a deck out of as well. So it kind of leaves Samurott behind in the shadows. As a result, I kind of want to take it out of it and build a deck out of it. And this is definitely something that I think is quite underrated, quite underutilized, and you don't see too often people playing this particular deck. So here's my particular take on it, so hopefully things turn out well. But before we get started, I would like to remind you guys to drop a like, share, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to hit the bell notification as well. However, with that being said, let's begin. So starting off, we're playing here 4 copies of our Samurott. It is the key card of our deck. We want to actually focus on Shell Armor here, being that it reduces your damage by 30, which is definitely fantastic. Technically it's at 190, and every time your opponent attacks, they just deal 30 less, so it's less likely that you'll be knocked out from any attacks. Your own attack is also a really great card to delay your opponent. You've basically here 1 water energy plus 2 colorless, and you could deal 120 as well as put 2 energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon back into your hand, which is definitely fantastic of course, because of the fact that your opponent will definitely have to reattach those 2 energy, which could be quite detrimental. If your opponent happens to be playing twin energy, that could be quite bad as well. So with that being said, Samurott is definitely a really good card to just do something that is a bit more unique from different decks out there. Of course, that goes without saying that we're going to be playing here 2 copies of our Dewott, as well as our 4 copies of Oshawott as well. This is pretty much the key ratios we'll be lining up for with Samurott themselves. You essentially will be utilizing rare candy, which would be getting you into your Samurott, which is why I'm only playing the 2 copies of Dewott. I think this is pretty much a standard at this point for any stage 2 deck out there. Now keep in mind that Samurott does require you to have 3 different energy attached, so it is quite crazy of a demand. As a result, we have to play something that could get energy as fast as possible onto our Pokemon. Playing a water deck, it would be wrong to not play Frostmoth. As a result, I am playing 2 copies of Frostmoth followed by 2 copies of Snom. It is going to be the engine to get your energy onto your Samurott, and we are not going to be relying on Frostmoth's attack. We're just going to rely on Ice Dance, allowing you to attach energy as quickly as possible, even as soon as attaching 3 energy on your very first turn onto your Samurott, if that's possible. Now I believe that while Samurott is a really great card, I do think that you need some sort of backup Pokemon to attack, and I believe that utilizing Empoleon V from the recent Battle Styles is definitely a fine choice indeed. Firstly, we have Emperor's Eyes. It's a really amazing ability because as long as this Pokemon's in your active zone, your opponent's basic Pokemon have no abilities except for Pokemon with a rule box. So that would be Pokemon V, Pokemon GX, they have rule boxes. But everything else won't have any abilities, so you're kind of locking out your opponent quite a lot there, and at the same time you have your own attack to go off with as well. But keep in mind, just like Samurott, you're going to be disrupting your opponent, slowing down your opponent's attacks, allowing you to perform your own shenanigans out there. Now as for a bit of supporting Pokemon, we're going to be playing here 2 copies of Snorlax. Gourmandize is the main ability we want to use here, being able to replenish our hand at the end of our turn. And the thing is this, we can drag this into the long game because of the fact that we're going to be disrupting our opponent so much, so having a Snorlax out is not bad at all. But of course, for a bit of speed early on, we do want to get cards like the Dene and also Crobats. Don't worry, they're easy to search out via cards like Quick Ball anyway, so no big deal there. Now moving on to items, we're of course playing 4 copies here of Quick Ball, definitely a really amazing card to get you started. We're also playing here 2 copies of Evolution Incense, searching out a lot of your stage 1s or your stage 2s, so that would be Frostmoth, D-Wots and Samurott being our targets. That's plenty of cards to search for. 2 copies of Evolution Incense is definitely a fantastic choice there. And we're also playing here 2 copies of Capacious Bucket, allowing you to get your water energy to your hand as soon as possible. Now of course, that goes without saying that we are going to be playing 4 copies of Rare Candy, definitely one of your crucial cards of the deck itself. There's no reason not to play it. We're also playing here 4 copies of Switch, a definite card that is very crucial for the deck because sometimes you're going to have your Gormandise, Snorlax out on the board, or your Empoleon, or even your Frostmoth at times, and you're going to have to swap back. So with that being said, to get back into your Samurott again, you're going to be playing Switch to get you back into that position, into the Pokemon you need for that particular circumstance. And for a bit of extra aid for that, we're also going to be playing Air Balloon. Air Balloon reduces the retreat cost by 2, allowing you to retreat your Pokemon. Because you're playing Evolution Pokemon, you would be best playing Air Balloon instead of Scoop Up Net, because Scoop Up Net would be requiring you to bring everything back, so you're going to have to re-evolve again, which is definitely not the best thing to do. However, moving on here, we want to replenish our resources, so I'm going to be playing here 2 copies of Ordinary Rod. We can easily search for them anyway, either our Pokemon or our energy as well, so 2 Ordinary Rods definitely work out for this deck. I'll also be playing here 1 copy of Nessa, because Nessa is again focusing on a water deck, and with this deck here, it definitely works incredibly well. I'm also going to be playing here 2 copies of Boss's Orders. A bit of manipulation, a bit of control of the board to knock out the specific Pokemon you want is definitely going to help. And when you're playing something like Samurott, being able to bounce back 2 energy to slow down your opponent, having Boss's Orders out there to delay the specific Pokemon you want is definitely going to be very key for this deck. Of course, we got to disrupt the opponent as much as possible, slow them down. Marnie is an amazing card to do that. And finally, to speed up the deck and get to our resources quickly, we're going to be playing 4 copies of Professor's Research, a really amazing card, and I can't recommend it enough. Now as for energy, because we are playing Samurott, which requires 1 water and 2 colorless, I figure it would actually work out to play Twin Energy. Samurott is a stage 2 Pokemon, it's a single prize Pokemon, it's not a V, it's not a GX, so Twin Energy actually works out. I've actually taken a look at different people's decks of this same build, and I'm actually very surprised no one is playing Twin Energy in the deck. It attaches energy, if anything, quicker than the water energy itself, so why not just play the Twin Energy? But finally, to fuel our Frostmoth and abuse its ability, we're going to be playing here the 8 copies of the basic water energy. It definitely works out really well for this deck, really amazing, and because of that, you're going to be disrupting your opponent. You're going to be dealing out or dishing out quite a bit of damage to your opponent once you bring out your Samurott at the very earliest stages, all the while causing your opponent to be very slowed down in their own gameplay. But I do thank you guys for actually joining me today. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.